The crystalline ships appeared during the morning rush hour in New York City. Their sudden manifestation turned the clear autumn sky into a kaleidoscope of refracted sunlight, stopping traffic and drawing millions of wide-eyed observers into the streets. Within minutes, similar reports flooded in from Beijing, London, Moscow, and every major city across the globe. Jessica Martinez, a barista at a downtown coffee shop, nearly dropped her phone while live-streaming the event. "They're beautiful," she whispered, watching as the angular vessels shifted positions with impossible grace. The largest of them, a behemoth that dwarfed the Empire State Building, settled into a geosynchronous orbit directly above Manhattan. The first transmission came exactly 17 minutes after their arrival. Every screen on Earth, from Times Square's massive displays to children's tablets in rural Mongolia, flickered to life simultaneously. Admiral Cathax's reptilian features filled each display, his scales shimming with an iridescent quality that human video technology struggled to capture. His vertical pupils contracted as he began to speak, his voice translated into every known human language simultaneously. "People of Earth," the alien commander's words carried an undertone of dismissive authority. "I am Admiral Cathax of the Draconian Empire. Your world now falls within our expansion zone. You have 48 standard hours to surrender control of your planet and submit to Imperial authority. Resistance is—" He paused, his mouth curving into what might have been a smile. "Historically inadvisable." Deep beneath Mount Cheyenne, in a bunker that didn't officially exist, General Marcus Hayes watched the transmission with an expression that didn't match the gravity of the situation. Instead of panic, his weathered face showed something closer to resignation. He turned to the assembled group of military leaders and scientists, their faces lit by the blue glow of monitoring stations. "Dr. Rivers," he addressed a tall woman in her 40s, her silver-streaked black hair pulled back in a severe bun. "I believe this qualifies as the trigger condition we've been waiting for." Dr. Amanda Rivers nodded, her fingers dancing across a quantum-encrypted tablet. The energy signatures from their fleet match the prophecy parameters exactly. "They're the catalyst we've been preparing for since Tunguska." She looked up, meeting the general's steady gaze. "Should I initiate protocol nightfall?" Before Hayes could respond, a junior officer burst into the room. "Sir, the Draconians are deploying scout ships. We're tracking 27 vessels entering the atmosphere over major population centers." Through the bunker's enhanced monitoring systems, they watched as sleek, predatory craft descended through the cloud layer. The vessel's crystalline structures bent light around them, creating halos that inspired both awe and terror in the watching populations below. "Look at their flight patterns," Dr. Rivers pointed to one of the displays. "They're scanning for defensive capabilities, but they're focusing on our visible technology. They haven't detected the quantum signatures yet." General Hayes straightened his uniform. "How long can we keep our advantage hidden? The quantum shadows are still dormant in the population. As long as there's no direct aggressive action from the Draconians, they should remain undetectable." Dr. Rivers paused, studying another readout. "But sir, if they do attack, then humanity's darkest secret becomes our greatest weapon," Hayes finished. He turned to face the assembled leadership. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've spent over a century preparing for this moment. Project Shadowfall is now active. Dr. Rivers, you have full authorization." Dr. Rivers nodded and pressed her palm against a biometric scanner. Across the globe, in similar facilities hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica, the sands of the Sahara, and the mountains of Nepal, other scientists did the same. Deep within secure servers, quantum algorithms that had been running since the early 1900s began their final calculations. Above, the Draconian fleet continued its intimidation display, their crystalline ships casting prismatic shadows across Earth's cities. They believed they were dealing with a primitive species about to be conquered. They had no way of knowing that humanity's response to their ultimatum would rewrite the laws of reality itself. The countdown to humanity's awakening had begun. The Nevada desert shimmered under the midday sun as Dr. Amanda Rivers descended into Project Shadowfall's primary facility. The elevator dropped past layers of security that officially didn't exist, each requiring authentication methods that seemed more suited to science fiction than military protocol. Her quantum-encrypted badge pulsed with each checkpoint, its microscopic processors verifying her identity across multiple dimensional frequencies. Status report. She commanded as the doors opened to reveal a bustling command center. Holographic displays showed the Draconian fleet's positions, their crystalline ships casting ever-changing patterns of light across the tactical overlays. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper, her youngest but most promising researcher, stepped forward. The quantum signatures are intensifying, Dr. Rivers. We're detecting widespread neural activity that matches the Tunguska patterns. Dr. Rivers approached the central display, where a three-dimensional map of Earth pulsed with points of blue light. Each point represented a human carrying active quantum shadows within their DNA, the legacy of an event that had shaped human evolution for over a century. "Show me the Tunguska vault," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The facility's deepest chamber hadn't been accessed since 1908, when the first research team documented the arrival of the quantum shadows. As the massive doors slowly parted, cold mist spilled out across the floor. Inside, a single crystalline structure floated in a containment field, its surface rippling like liquid mercury. "The original seed," Dr. Rivers whispered, approaching the artifact. She placed her hand on the scanner beside the containment field, and the crystal responded immediately, its surface becoming transparent to reveal the swirling quantum entities within. Lieutenant Cooper checked her readings. "Doctor, the quantum shadows are resonating with the Draconian ships. It's almost as if they were waiting for this specific moment," Dr. Rivers finished. She pulled up historical footage on a nearby screen. Grainy video from 1908 showing the Tunguska explosion. But this wasn't the public version. This recording showed something else. Thousands of microscopic lights descending into the blast zone, seeking out the humans who would become the first carriers. Above them, the Draconian fleet shifted formation. Admiral Cathax's voice boomed through global communications once again. "Your time grows short, primitives. We detect no significant defensive capabilities. Submit, and your transition into the Empire will be relatively painless." Dr. Rivers smiled. "They still haven't noticed. Lieutenant, initiate the quantum resonance scan." The command center's screens filled with new data as hidden sensors activated worldwide. Every human on Earth appeared as a nexus of quantum potential, their DNA interwoven with structures that defied conventional physics. "Look at these patterns," Lieutenant Cooper gasped. "The quantum shadows haven't just been hiding in our DNA. They've been evolving with us, changing us at a fundamental level." Dr. Rivers nodded, her expression grave. The Tunguska event wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Those beings chose us, recognized something in human consciousness that no other species possessed. And now, her words were interrupted by alarms. On the tactical display, one of the Draconian scout ships broke formation, descending rapidly toward the Nevada desert. "They've detected our scans," Lieutenant Cooper reported, her fingers flying across the controls. "The scout ship will be directly overhead in 3 minutes." Dr. Rivers straightened her lab coat, a gesture that seemed absurdly normal given the circumstances. "Then it's time. Execute Protocol Nightfall." Throughout the facility, quantum computers that had been running calculations since before digital computers existed reached their final algorithms. The crystal from Tunguska pulsed with internal light, sending out a signal that resonated with every quantum shadow on Earth. In homes, offices, and streets across the planet, people suddenly stopped what they were doing, their eyes widening as they felt something wake up inside them. The quantum shadows, dormant for generations, began to stir. Humanity's darkest secret was about to step into the light. The Draconian scout ship hung over the Nevada desert like a shard of frozen lightning. Its crystalline surface caught the sun's rays, casting prismatic patterns across the sand below. Inside Project Shadowfall's command center, Dr. Rivers watched the tactical display with calculated calm. "They're scanning us," Lieutenant Cooper reported, her eyes fixed on the quantum readings. "But they're only detecting our surface installations. The quantum shadows are still masked." A new alert flashed across their screens. Admiral Cathax's face appeared on all channels, his scaled features arranged in what passed for amusement among his species. "Interesting," his translated voice purred. "You thought you could hide your energy signatures from us. Allow me to demonstrate the futility of such deception." The scout ship's crystal structure began to pulse with building energy. Dr. Rivers straightened, her hand hovering over the quantum interface. "Everyone, brace for." The blast came without warning. A lance of pure energy struck the desert floor, turning a square mile of sand into glowing glass. The shockwave rattled the underground facility, but its quantum-reinforced walls held firm. "Damage report," Dr. Rivers called out, steadying herself against a console. "None, Doctor," Lieutenant Cooper replied, surprise evident in her voice. "The blast. It didn't penetrate our quantum field, but something else is happening." On screens throughout the command center, data streams showed massive spikes in neural activity across the globe. The quantum shadows, dormant for generations, were responding to the attack. In a small town in Kansas, a farmer stopped his tractor as strange symbols danced across his vision. In a Tokyo office building, a secretary found herself understanding complex quantum equations she'd never studied. In a Rio de Janeiro classroom, students watched in awe as their teacher briefly phased through her desk without realizing it. "The awakening is beginning earlier than predicted," Dr. Rivers observed, studying the readings. The Draconian attack acted as a catalyst. Admiral Cathax's voice boomed through the communication system again. "Your primitive shielding technology is impressive, but ultimately futile. Perhaps a more substantial demonstration is required." The main Draconian fleet began to move, their crystalline ships realigning into attack formation. Energy readings spiked across their entire armada. "Multiple weapon systems charging," Lieutenant Cooper reported. "They're targeting major population centers." Dr. Rivers squared her shoulders. "Then we can't wait any longer. Execute Protocol Nightfall, Phase 2. Her fingers danced across the quantum interface, initiating sequences that had been prepared for over a century. The Tunguska crystal in its vault below began to pulse with brilliant light. Its quantum resonance spread outward, connecting with the shadows hidden in human DNA worldwide. In the command center, both Dr. Rivers and Lieutenant Cooper gasped as new awareness flooded their consciousness. "This is," Lieutenant Cooper whispered, watching her hand as quantum energy rippled across her skin. "This is what we've been preparing for." Above, the Draconian fleet launched their attack. Dozens of energy beams lanced toward Earth's surface, but something unprecedented happened as they struck the atmosphere. The beams bent, twisted. Some split into harmless light shows, while others vanished entirely, redirected through quantum spaces humans were only beginning to perceive. In the command center, Dr. Rivers watched as millions of humans simultaneously accessed abilities they never knew they had. The quantum shadows were awakening, and with them, humanity's true potential emerged. "Send an all-channel broadcast," she ordered, her voice steady despite the enormous energies now flowing through her consciousness. "It's time to show Admiral Cathax exactly what he's awakened." The message went out worldwide, reaching every human now coming to terms with their new awareness. "The time has come. Remember what you've always known, deep in your DNA. We are not alone in our own bodies, and we never have been. The quantum shadows are not our tools, they are our partners. And together, we are far more than the Draconians bargained for." Above, the crystalline fleet hung motionless, their sensors struggling to comprehend the transformation taking place below. Humanity's darkest secret was about to become the galaxy's brightest revelation. Jessica Martinez, the New York barista who had witnessed the fleet's arrival, now stood transfixed as golden light coursed through her veins. Around her, Times Square had fallen silent, every human caught in the same moment of transformation. The quantum shadows, dormant for generations, surged through their DNA like an electric current of pure consciousness. "This is impossible," she whispered, watching as her hand passed through a nearby wall without resistance. But even as she spoke, inherited memories flooded her mind. Knowledge passed down through the quantum shadows since the Tunguska event. In Project Shadowfall's command center, Dr. Rivers monitored the global awakening. "Neural integration is proceeding faster than our models predicted," she announced, her own consciousness expanded by the quantum shadows. "Humanity is adapting to the change at an exponential rate." Lieutenant Cooper's fingers danced across holographic displays that now seemed primitive compared to her new awareness. "Doctor, look at these readings. The quantum shadows aren't just giving us abilities. They're unlocking something that was already there. Something in our DNA that's been waiting to be activated." Above Earth, Admiral Cathax's flagship registered unprecedented energy signatures from the surface. The reptilian commander's vertical pupils dilated as his sensors struggled to interpret the data. "Impossible," he hissed, watching as his initial attack dissipated into quantum foam. No primitive species could possess this level of quantum manipulation. The awakening spread like wildfire across the globe. In a London pub, a retired physics teacher suddenly understood the true nature of quantum entanglement as he watched his beer exist in multiple states simultaneously. At a Beijing university, a group of students found themselves unconsciously creating quantum tunnels between classrooms. Dr. Rivers activated the global quantum communication network, her consciousness connecting with millions of awakened minds. Focus, her thoughts reached out to the transformed population. "The quantum shadows are not controlling you. They're revealing what humanity has always been capable of. We are the bridge between classical reality and quantum truth." The Draconian fleet launched a second volley, this time targeting military installations. But awakened humans across the globe responded instinctively. A group of kindergarten teachers in Sydney created a quantum barrier that scattered the energy beams across multiple dimensions. A fisherman off the coast of Maine redirected an entire barrage into a parallel universe with a casual wave of his hand. In the Nevada facility, Lieutenant Cooper's eyes widened as new data poured in. "Doctor, the quantum shadows. They're showing us their memories. They didn't just choose Earth randomly. They've been watching humanity for millennia, waiting for the right moment." Dr. Rivers nodded, accessing the shared knowledge. "We're the only species they've encountered whose consciousness naturally exists partially in quantum state. Every human dream, every moment of intuition or déjà vu. We've been touching quantum reality our entire existence. The shadows didn't change us. They just helped us finally see ourselves." Admiral Cathax's voice boomed through global communications once more, but this time there was an edge of uncertainty in his tone. "What manner of deception is this? No species can evolve this rapidly." Jessica Martinez, now fully aware of her quantum nature, looked up at the crystalline ships and smiled. Like millions of others, she could see them for what they truly were, beautiful but simple constructs, limited by their builders' linear understanding of reality. Without fully understanding how, she reached out with her quantum-enhanced consciousness and touched the nearest vessel's structure. The massive ship flickered, its crystalline form struggling to maintain coherence as quantum forces pulled at its very essence. Across the planet, awakened humans began to experiment with their new awareness, their collective consciousness rippling through reality like waves through a cosmic ocean. In the command center, Dr. Rivers watched as humanity took its first steps into a larger universe. "Send a message to Admiral Cathax," she instructed, her voice carrying the weight of both human and quantum shadow knowledge. "Tell him, the awakening cannot be stopped. The question is not whether humanity will survive. It's whether the universe is ready for what we're becoming. Admiral Kthax ordered the deployment of his elite guard, their crystalline dropships descending through Earth's atmosphere like a meteor shower of cutting edges and sharp angles. The ship's hulls hummed with energy frequencies designed to disrupt any known defense system. But Earth no longer operated on known principles. In Central Park, Jessica Martinez stood with a gathered crowd of newly awakened humans. As a dropship screamed toward their position, she felt no fear. Instead, she experienced a moment of perfect clarity as quantum knowledge flowed through her consciousness. Together, she called out to those around her. The crowd linked hands, their quantum shadows synchronizing into a unified field. The approaching ship suddenly froze mid-flight, caught between dimensions as reality itself bent around it. In Project Shadowfall's command center, Dr. Rivers watched the global defense unfold with pride. Humanity is adapting even faster than we hoped, she told Lieutenant Cooper. The quantum shadows aren't just giving us power. They're teaching us to understand reality on a fundamental level. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. A group of high school students in Moscow redirected an entire squadron of dropships into the quantum foam between universes. An elderly couple in Buenos Aires created a temporal loop that caught 3 Draconian vessels in an endless moment of indecision. Admiral Kthax's voice crackled through the fleet's communication network, his usual confidence shattered. This is impossible. Their DNA is rewriting itself in real time. They're becoming something else. Dr. Rivers activated the quantum communications array, her consciousness reaching out to touch the Admiral's mind directly. The reptilian commander recoiled as he felt her presence, so different from any psychic contact he'd experienced before. We're not becoming something else, Admiral, her thoughts echoed through his ship. We're finally becoming what we always were. The quantum shadows didn't change us. They awakened us. In orbit, the main Draconian fleet began to show signs of strain. Their crystalline structures, designed to channel and amplify energy, now worked against them. Every human on Earth could see the quantum frequencies that powered their ships, could understand the mathematical principles behind their technology, and could reach out to alter them with a thought. Lieutenant Cooper's monitors lit up with new data. Doctor, look at this. The quantum shadows are sharing their complete history with us. They've seeded other worlds before, but none of them achieved this level of synchronization. There's something unique about human consciousness. A massive explosion lit up the sky as the first Draconian capital ship lost coherence, its crystalline structure dissolving into quantum particles. The sight triggered a new wave of understanding through humanity's collective consciousness. Jessica Martinez, still standing in Central Park, suddenly laughed as the knowledge flowed through her. We're not just fighting them, she broadcast to the quantum network. We're understanding them. Their ships, their weapons, they're all based on rigid patterns, but we're learning to see between the patterns. Dr. Rivers nodded, comprehending the deeper truth. She opened a channel to all Earth's defenders. Focus on the spaces between their ships' crystal matrices. Reality isn't solid. It's more like a dance of possibilities. And humanity has always been good at improvising new dance steps. The counterattack rolled across the globe. Humans weren't just defending anymore. They were reaching out, their collective consciousness probing the fleet's weaknesses. Draconian technology, for all its advancement, was based on controlling and channeling quantum energy. But humanity had learned to become quantum energy. Admiral Kthax watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to flicker and fade. "What are you?" he demanded, his thoughts broadcasting across all frequencies. Dr. Rivers answered for all humanity, her words carrying the weight of both ancient quantum wisdom and human innovation. "We are the bridge between classical and quantum reality. We are the species that dreams in multiple dimensions, and we are no longer content to be confined by your limited understanding of what's possible." The counterattack had begun, and with it, the true revelation of humanity's potential was about to unfold. Admiral Kthax stood on his flagship's crystalline bridge, watching as another squadron of his finest ships phased out of normal spacetime. The tactical displays, once filled with confident red indicators of Draconian superiority, now flickered with uncertainty as human consciousness reshaped reality around them. "Impossible," he muttered, his scaled hand clenching on the command throne. No species could advance this quickly without. His thoughts froze as Dr. Rivers materialized on his bridge, not as a hologram or projection, but simultaneously existing in multiple quantum states. Her form shifted and flowed like liquid starlight, the visual representation of humanity's new nature. "Without help?" She completed his thought, her voice resonating through quantum frequencies. "You're partially correct, Admiral, but you're still thinking in linear terms." Around them, the bridge crew backed away, their weapons useless against something that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Through the quantum network, Dr. Rivers could sense Jessica Martinez and countless others watching through her consciousness, learning, understanding. "The quantum shadows," Cathax hissed, finally comprehending. "The energy patterns we detected in the Tunguska region. They weren't weapons at all, were they?" Lieutenant Cooper's voice joined the quantum chorus, her consciousness merging with Dr. Rivers' manifestation. "They were seeds, Admiral, but not in the way you imagine. The shadows didn't change us. They recognized what we already were. Through their shared awareness, humanity projected the truth into the Draconian command center. Images formed in the air, ancient quantum beings, searching the cosmos for eons, testing countless species, then finding Earth, watching as primitive humans dreamed, imagined, and unknowingly touched quantum reality through their natural consciousness. Your scientists never understood why human consciousness couldn't be explained by classical physics," Dr. Rivers explained, her form shifting through multiple probability states. "It's because human awareness naturally exists partially in quantum state. Every human dream, every moment of intuition, we were already reaching across dimensional barriers." Jessica Martinez's consciousness surged forward through the network, adding her perspective. "The shadows recognized that we were already like them, just unaware of our true nature. They didn't modify us. They completed us." The images shifted, showing the long progression. The quantum shadows merging with human DNA, waiting patiently through generations as humanity's natural quantum potential grew stronger. The Tunguska event hadn't been an arrival. It had been a graduation ceremony, the shadows acknowledging that humanity was ready to begin its true evolution. Admiral Cathax's vertical pupils widened as the full implications became clear. "The prophecies," he whispered. "The ancient texts that spoke of a bridge species." "Yes," Dr. Rivers confirmed, her quantum form pulsing with newfound power. "Humanity isn't just another civilization to be conquered, Admiral. We're the species that exists between classical and quantum reality. The quantum shadows didn't choose us randomly. They chose us because we were already becoming what they were." Through their shared consciousness, humans worldwide felt the Admiral's shock as he realized the true scale of his mistake. His fleet hadn't discovered Earth. They had awakened it. The quantum shadows had spent centuries preparing humanity for this moment, waiting for the right catalyst to trigger their final evolution. "The precursors spoke of this," Cathax said, his military bearing crumbling as ancient knowledge surfaced. "A species that would bridge the gap between matter and energy, between particle and wave, between thought and reality itself." Dr. Rivers nodded, her form stabilizing into something both human and more. "We are that bridge, Admiral. And now that we're awake, we're ready to take our place in the cosmos." She paused, letting him feel the weight of the moment. "The question is, are you ready for what humanity is becoming?" Through the quantum network, billions of awakened humans waited for his answer, their combined consciousness reshaping the very fabric of reality around the Draconian fleet. The revelation was complete. Earth's darkest secret had become the galaxy's brightest hope. Admiral Cathax made his decision in a moment of desperate pride. "The Draconian Empire does not retreat," he snarled, slamming his scaled hand down on the command console. "All ships, maximum power. Launch everything we have." Dr. Rivers shook her head, her quantum form rippling with disappointment. Pride. She broadcast through the human network. It always comes down to pride. The crystalline fleet blazed to life, every weapon system charging simultaneously. The energy buildup was visible even to unenhanced eyes, turning the Earth's sky into a lattice of burning light. In Central Park, Jessica Martinez felt the power surge through the quantum network. "They're really going to do it," she thought to the collective. "They'd rather destroy themselves than admit they're outmatched." "Then we'll give them a lesson in humility," Dr. Rivers responded, her consciousness reaching out to coordinate humanity's response. "Everyone, remember what the quantum shadows taught us. Reality isn't fixed. It's a dance of possibilities." The Draconian fleet unleashed their full arsenal. Thousands of energy beams, missiles, and quantum torpedoes streaked toward Earth's surface. For a moment, the attacks seemed to darken the sun itself. But humanity had evolved beyond such linear threats. A group of quantum-awakened children in Seattle giggled as they turned a barrage of missiles into a shower of butterflies. An elderly quantum physicist in Mumbai redirected several energy beams into a parallel dimension where Earth didn't exist. A dance troupe in Lagos transformed a squadron of torpedoes into a spectacular light show. "Impossible," Thax roared, watching his fleet's most powerful weapons dissolve into quantum foam. "No species can manipulate reality at this scale." Lieutenant Cooper's voice echoed through the quantum network. "We're not manipulating reality, Admiral. We're becoming one with it." The collective consciousness of humanity surged outward, touching every crystalline ship in the Draconian fleet. Humans could now see the quantum structure of the vessels, the mathematical patterns that held them in normal spacetime. And what humans could see, they could change. "Look at the spaces between," Jessica broadcast, sharing her insight through the network. "Their ships are like frozen music, but we can change the tune." Humanity responded as one. Across the globe, billions of awakened minds reached out, their quantum consciousness slipping between the rigid patterns of Draconian technology. The great fleet began to flicker and fade, their crystal matrices unable to maintain coherence against such fluid adaptive awareness. "What's happening to my ships?" Thax demanded, watching as his mighty armada began to dissolve. Dr. Rivers appeared before him one last time, her form now a perfect blend of classical and quantum states. "Your ships exist in fixed patterns, Admiral, but humanity has learned to dance between the patterns. We're not destroying your fleet. We're simply showing it all the other places it could be." The crystalline vessels began to phase out of normal spacetime, each one shifting into a different quantum reality. Some flickered into dimensions where Earth had never formed. Others slipped sideways into universes where the laws of physics followed different rules. The great Draconian fleet, pride of an empire that spanned galaxies, scattered across infinite realities like leaves in a quantum wind. Admiral Thax stood alone on his fading bridge, his vertical pupils wide with understanding that came too late. "We never stood a chance," he whispered. "You weren't prey at all. You were what we've been searching for all along." "Yes," Dr. Rivers agreed, as the flagship began to fade. "Remember that lesson in whatever reality you find yourself, Admiral. Humanity isn't just another civilization to be conquered. We're the bridge between what is and what could be." The quantum network hummed with shared triumph as the last Draconian ship vanished from normal space. In its place, newborn quantum awareness spread through the human collective, bringing understanding of infinite possibilities. Earth's darkest secret had not just been revealed. It had transformed humanity into something the universe had never seen before. And this was only the beginning. 3 days after the Draconian fleet scattered across infinite realities, Jessica Martinez stood atop the Empire State Building, watching quantum auroras dance across the New York skyline. The awakening had transformed every aspect of human civilization. Streets now flowed with quantum energy, visible to everyone's enhanced perception as streams of possibility and potential. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Dr. Rivers appeared beside her, her form shifting between physical and quantum states like sunlight on water. Humanity is adapting faster than even the quantum shadows predicted. Below them, the city pulsed with new life. Children played hopscotch across dimensional boundaries, their laughter echoing through multiple realities simultaneously. Street artists painted with quantum frequencies, creating masterpieces that existed in several states at once. In Project Shadowfall's command center, now transformed into the global quantum integration hub, Lieutenant Cooper monitored the first transmissions from across the galaxy. "They're all watching us," she reported through the quantum network. "Every advanced civilization has noticed what happened here." The messages poured in through quantum frequencies that humanity now understood instinctively. Some alien species reacted with fear, others with fascination. A few recognized humanity as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies about the bridge species. "Let them watch," Jessica thought back, her consciousness easily spanning the distance between New York and Nevada. "We have nothing to hide anymore." Dr. Rivers nodded, her quantum form resonating with pride. The quantum shadows chose well. No other species has adapted to quantum consciousness with such creativity and joy. Through their shared awareness, they felt the changes spreading across Earth. Universities worldwide established new departments of quantum consciousness studies. Artists collaborated across multiple dimensions, creating works that defied classical physics. Scientists, their understanding enhanced by quantum awareness, began unraveling the deepest mysteries of existence. "We're receiving another transmission," Lieutenant Cooper announced. "This one's different. It's from the precursors themselves." The ancient race that had guided the quantum shadows finally revealed themselves, their consciousness touching the human quantum network like starlight touching morning dew. Their message was simple but profound. The bridge is complete. The gateway species has awakened. The next phase of cosmic evolution can begin. Jessica turned to Dr. Rivers, her form now as quantum fluid as her mentors. "What exactly are we bridging?" "Everything." Dr. Rivers smiled, gesturing to the quantum aurora above them. "Classical and quantum reality, matter and energy, past and future, thought and existence. We're the species that can dance between states of being, showing the universe new ways to evolve." Through the quantum network, they sensed new possibilities unfolding. Humans had already begun establishing colonies in parallel dimensions, exploring realities where Earth had taken different evolutionary paths. Quantum engineering teams were developing ways to heal environmental damage by shifting polluted areas into cleaner quantum states. "And the Draconians?" Jessica asked, thinking of the scattered fleet. "Their ships and crews exist across multiple realities now." Lieutenant Cooper joined their consciousness. "Some are finding their way home, forever changed by the experience. Others are discovering new paths their empire might have taken. We gave them a gift, really, the chance to see beyond their rigid patterns." In the quantum aurora above New York, new patterns formed, gateways opening to distant star systems. The first quantum exploration teams prepared to make contact with alien civilizations, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as teachers and guides. "We should thank Admiral Kthax," Dr. Rivers mused. "His pride and aggression gave us exactly the catalyst we needed to awaken." Jessica laughed, the sound rippling through multiple dimensions. "Somehow I doubt he'd appreciate the irony." The sun rose over Manhattan, its light refracting through quantum fields to create displays of impossible beauty. Humanity had not just survived its greatest challenge, it had transcended it. Earth's darkest secret had become the galaxy's brightest hope, and the universe would never be the same. Through the quantum network, billions of awakened humans shared a single thought. This was not an ending, but a beginning. The bridge species had taken its first steps, and infinite realities awaited exploration.